Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Long story.
Okay. Well, that's for me to know, folks, and you to find out when you see Fred. My name is Angela Kate Durden. I am an author of over 15 books, more coming. But I'm also the founder and principal of Blue Room Books. It's book publishing. We went into operation in 2017. You can learn more about us if you go to blueroombooks.com. Today, though, we have with us one of our authors, W.F. Whitson. We call him Fred. And his book is The Librarian. I think I'm trying to get the light not shining on it. The Librarian. Can you see that pretty good? Intrigue at R.A.F. Greenham. You can visit Fred's website at wfwhitson.com. That's wfwhitson.com. Welcome, Fred. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
I'm glad. Thank you for joining me today. I sure do appreciate it, and the folks that are watching, I'm sure they appreciate it too. You know, we've known each other now for several years. I'm trying to remember what year it is you joined the Jedwinista writing critique group. Do you remember?
2011, yeah.
2011. So I've known you since 2011.
Over 10 years.
Gosh. In my head, it's a lot shorter period of time than that.
Passed really fast.
It does. It does. When you joined the group, you were somewhat new to writing. You had been writing for a while, and I'll let you tell that story later. But you were needing some feedback and that sort of thing, and maybe some craft of writing techniques or whatever, and that's how you found out about Jedwin Smith, who we had on another episode, because we also published two of his books. But the book that you brought in eventually became this book that we ended up publishing. And when we first met, I did not have this publishing company. It just shows you how much time has passed. Wow. Wow. But the book is called The Librarian. Now, here's the thing. We're not going to tell you how the title came to be, and you will not tell them, Fred.
Got it.
Okay. Because in order to find out that, you need to read the book. That means you need to buy it. It's available on Amazon.com. If you go to our website, you'll find his book linked to the Amazon portal. If you go to his website, you'll find it linked also to the Amazon sales page. So that is going to be really good. But Fred, what I want to talk about right now is the idea for this book, which is based on it's historical fiction, and it is based on something that you were involved in. So we getting it straight from the horse's mouth with some fictionalized stuff thrown in, because that's what historical fiction's all about. So, Fred, tell us all about that.
All right. I first had the idea for this book back in 1984. I was assigned to headquarters, the U.S. Air Force's headquarters in Germany. Was flying back to Greenham Common, where I had been assigned before, back to Greenham Common for a staff visit. Got to Frankfurt Airport, and my flight was delayed. Uh-oh. So I had about 2.5 hours with nothing to do. Of course, I didn't bring anything to read. So I went to the bookstore, and they had very limited selection of books in English, and even more limited that I'd be interested in buying. And so, but I found one by Ken Follett, The Man from St. Petersburg. So I bought it. Read it over the next 2 weeks, liked it. It had intrigue. It had, communication between two countries, England and Russia. It had a spy. It had an assassination attempt. So I thought, I could build a story like this at Greenham Common that would work for this book. Unfortunately, it was 25 years later before I met you all and put pen to paper.
Yeah. Well, that's usually how a lot of story ideas do start up. for people who like military stories with some spooks in them, that's spies. It's the old term, spooks. Do they even use that anymore?
No.
What do they call them now? Intelligence workers?
The bad guys.
Bad guys. But the thing that I liked about this book, and Fred, I think you know, because as we went through editing it, well, when my company decided to publish the book, Tom Whitfield, my editor-in-chief, and I went through the book, and we checked everything. I mean, if there was a real-life incident, we made sure everything was spelled correctly, and because writers, we just get to writing, and I know this. That's why I have an editor, too. They get to writing, and they don't, in their head, they're seeing what they said. But on the paper, that's not what comes out. So we were going through all this stuff, and as I dug down into the book on such a deep level like that, and even Tom, too, he was like, oh, my God, I didn't know this happened. We really enjoyed the details. There was technical details with the cruise missiles, and it was the Glickam ground
launched cruise missile.
Ground launch cruise missiles, GLCM, and it's pronounced Glickam. So it took us a while to learn that, but there was all these technical details about this stuff that we really wanted to drool over. So I'd like you to tell the readers a little bit about your background. Where'd you come from? How'd you end up where you did? And what have you done after the Air Force? And, stuff like that.
Okay, bore them to death.
No!
Anyway.
You're a storyteller. Make it interesting.
When I get to Greenham Common, remind me to talk a little bit about historical fiction. Okay?
Yes, okay.
But anyway, I am from a small town, Greenville, Kentucky. Went to college at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. Majored in meteorology. My first assignment in the Air Force was as a meteorologist. Did that for about 2.5 years, and then switched over to nuclear missiles. My first missile assignment was at F.E. Warren with the Minuteman system. I was in operations there. My second one was at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, and I was in maintenance there, so I had both sides of the house. Then I was tapped to go to Headquarters Tactical Air Command. They were developing a brand new weapon system, the Glickam, and they brought in some maintenance people like me and some ops people, plans people, everybody from nuclear weapon system. They brought us together, formed a team, and then we worked with the contractor, which was General Dynamics, used their Tomahawk missile as our base missile, and then we built a weapon system, trucks, software, everything around that weapon system. Then I went to Greenham Common, where I was the first missile officer assigned to RAF Greenham Common. And so once I got there, we got a new wing commander. We opened up the base, and he tapped me, even though I was a maintenance guy, he tapped me to be the acting exec officer. And then let me venture a little bit. In the book, it is at RAF Greenham Common. My protagonist, Wesley Forrest, is the exec officer. So this is not autobiographical, so in some sense.
You mean a spy didn't chase you down and try to run you over and shoot you with a gun or none of that stuff?
No, that's all made up.
Oh.
Anyway, well, I'll tell you about it in a minute. But anyway, in other words, I have been in his shoes. I know what happened. I know what was going on base, off base. So that's sort of the basis of the story. I was at Greenham about 2.5 years, and we opened up the base, and it's called IOC, Initial Operational Capability. Our first flight went on alert. So then I went to headquarters, USAFE, U.S. Air Force headquarters in Europe, in Germany. And so I then helped open up 4 more countries. we actually had 6 bases that were going to be opened up in 5 different countries. One, of course, had already opened, Greenham in England. And so then we went to Italy, Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands, open on bases, new bases. So that's about it for the weapon system, but a little bit about historical fiction. I learned a lot as I tried to write this. And it's, you try to make it, I found everything that really happened and then used that in the book and then fictionalized it. All right. So the events that happened in the book are real. They happened. I changed the dates because it didn't line up with my plot. And of course the characters, all the characters are fictional, except for like the Secretary of Defense, Weinberger, and the British Secretary of Defense. I used their real names in their, when they spoke or had a scene, that's all fiction. But I used their real names. So that's it.
Right. And now, there was the protesting women. What did they call them?
Women's Peace Camp.
Women's Peace Camp. And how many years did that sucker last?
They were there when I got there in the first of 82. And so they were then I'll throw this in. I then became part of the INF, the International Nuclear Forces Treaty, and when we figured out how to cut up Glickem and we cut up SS-20s for both countries, us and Russia, to get rid of them. So the missiles left RAF Greenham in 91. The peace women were there 24/7, let me add for their benefit, were there from before I got there, late 81, early 82, until all the missiles were gone in 91. And they were there 24/7. They had a permanent, we had our main gate, they had a permanent camp there, and people were there 24/7, as I said. The numbers varied. If they had a little special event and they called the press in from London, then it went from 20 to 50 overnight. But that was all planned and it worked for them.
Well, that's nice. It was like.
And there's some of that in the book.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Well, that's why on the cover, I know you might not be able to see it really good, but you see at the bottom, the women holding hands at the fence line. That is a relief of a picture that was actually taken and published in a newspaper. And I just reversed it out and made it black with the fence against it. But that was a lot of the stuff that was going on at the time, and you managed to incorporate that real stuff.
I tried to make it so that if somebody from England read it, they would go, "Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that." So that made me try to get as much of it right as possible.
Yeah.
Just like the geography around the base, I had to modify it a little bit, but for the most part, it's exactly the same. The town of Newbury, which is the town there, I had to make that all the same. So if somebody read it, they would recognize the area.
What's been interesting for me is because I watch a lot of British television, and there's cop dramas and mystery shows and stuff like that, and some of them have taken place around that area, and or they found a dead body at Greenham Commons, and this sort of thing, and it's been just the first time I would never have understood that until I did your book. And all of a sudden I'm going, hey, that was in Fred's book. Because it was all in that area. And I really enjoyed it a lot. How hard is it to deal with a historical fiction? I mean, I know you were there. So you had a certain body of knowledge that you knew for a fact was so whether or not it could be documented anywhere because you were there. But there's a lot of people that write historical fiction and they go and just do a lot of research and their research may or may not be too good. And next thing you know, they've written something that everybody's going, just no way. What level of research? Did you send the book out to different people who also were there and ask them to correct anything that you may have misremembered?
I did or didn't remember. I
yeah.
had friends who, Air Force people were there. I had a couple of British friends.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a police officer, British police officer, that I sent him some, okay, what really went on? How did this work? How does your police service work? And they answered me back and helped me, get it right. And it was important for me to get it right.
And in historical fiction, I think that really, really matters. If you were making something up from whole cloth, you could just say whatever.
Right.
But, and then you could explain it by saying, well, this is my world I made up. But this is not a world you made up. You're
Correct.
simply placing people and events in that world that do other things.
That's correct.
Right. Okay. Well,
and hopefully an exciting story laid on top of the historical location.
Well, that's the whole thing. Which, by the way, folks, right. The Librarian, intrigue at R.E.F. Greenham. If you go to Amazon, type in the word Whitson, his last name, and The Librarian, and it'll pop right up and you can get it. It's also available as an ebook now, also, isn't it?
That's correct.
So that you can get it as an ebook and as a print copy. I suggest a print copy because it's historical fiction and it's so well done that it might be a good thing to have on your shelf just for some reference sake, if anybody brings it up. That's just my opinion. Of course, I like to hold a book and read because batteries don't run out. That's just my opinion. However, there's a couple of reviews of the book that have been posted on Amazon. One says the writer has that's you, Fred.
Oh, yay.
The writer has a fine ear for actions on the ground, the voices of the people who are pawns in the game of superpowers. The climactic scenes are presented in a fast-paced staccato that might get approving nods from the greats of the genre. W.F. Whitson is an accomplished writer who has a story to tell.
Very nice.
That is awesome.
It is.
That is awesome. Another one says, The Librarian brings back the tensions and complications of the Cold War and wraps it around a story of intrigue. This book also reminds us of some of the cultural conflicts of the day. All in all, a recommended read. And we recommend it absolutely, positively, don't we, Fred?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, listen, you can learn more about Fred at wfwhitson.com. When this video is done, at the bottom of the screen, or right now, if you look, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, there will be his website address. All you have to do is go to it. I will link that in the information below the video. So where it says show more info, or whatever it is YouTube calls it today, just click on that and it'll drop down. You'll have the Blue Room Books link, .com link, the wfwhitson.com link, a link to Amazon for his book, and a couple other links. We'll figure them out as time goes on. We are the publisher of Fred's book, The Librarian, Intrigue at R.E.F. Greenham. It's available on Amazon.com. Go get it. Well, Fred, I want to say thank you so very much for being with us. Now, here's the thing. Before you go, I do have a surprise.
Uh-oh.
I have made a list. I have made a list of 10 questions, of which, picking from 1 to 10, pick 2 numbers, and I will ask you those questions on this list, and you don't get to know what they are.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Can I do that?
You can ask me one.
Okay. We haven't talked about the book I'm working on now.
Yeah, I know. It will be done another time.
Okay.
And the only reason is because after a while, you and I can talk for hours, and nobody wants to listen to all that. So he is working on another historical fiction.
It is Civil War. So stay tuned.
What happened to all the gold from the South, right?
Confederate Treasury.
Confederate Treasury. That's right. Oh, it's interesting. It's very good. Boy, the iterations that thing has gone through. But I can't wait to get my hands on it. Okay, pick
2 and 4.
2 and 4. 2. How long have you been married?
Which time?
Okay.
The first one lasted 22 years.
Okay.
And the current one, what's 07 till now?
5? No, 07, 15.
Right.
Okay.
So there you are. Interesting things you don't care about.
And you picked a 4?
Yes.
What is your most favorite movie of all time and why?
Oh, well, I've never thought about that. Can I change the question a little bit? The movie that I like currently, or within the last 10 years or so, is called Sarah's Key. And it's about, it's war, historical fiction, and it's about World War II, where a Jewish family gets trapped in Paris when the Germans come in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really well done. It's a parallel narrative, which is what I'm working on as well. So I'll leave it at that.
So you got some modern day stuff, then they flash back.
Correct.
Okay. And that is true.
Well done. The book is well done, and the movie's well done. There's a movie.
Oh, good, good. Well, that's my 2 questions. I mean, I got some more, but
Let's pass.
well, okay, we will. I'm Angela Durden, middle initial K, which is very important. It has to do with bad checks that somebody else wrote who was an Angela Durden, and I wasn't able to write checks for a long time in Clayton County, Georgia. So I started using my middle initial. Get Fred's book, The Librarian, Intrigue at R.E.F. Greenham. Read it. And if you're working on a book and you want to get some feedback on it, contact us at blueroombooks.com, and we'll let you know how to do that, which is through an email on the site. You'll have to visit it. And there's lots of things to read on there. I've got some, what do you call those things? Author, they're not bios so much as how we came to do the book or what the book is about. We've got a couple of things upcoming, so we're looking forward to all of that too. But blueroombooks.com, you'll see it up above my head. WFWhitson.com, you'll see it down here with Fred below us. And a big shout out to Misha Stepanuk for the piano intro and the outro of this. So we'll talk to y'all later, and good evening. Bye.
Good night.